Well, welcome everybody. We're just letting everybody in here, and I think we'll wait, another minute before we get going. But y'all are doing well so far. Everybody's got their camera on. This is we like to call it sort of the anti-webinar. So we enjoy having people converse and engage with each other. We don't. The idea behind this conversation is for it to actually be a two-way conversation, and for people to be sharing ideas and knowledge and making connections, not just listening to us pontificate from the stage, as it were. I guess I'll go ahead and start and just tell you, I'm Trevor Williams with Global Atlanta. We're a news website that covers international business here in the state, particularly just how Georgia's economy is affected by the global economy. So we partnered on this series with the Pendleton Group, which is a consulting firm that Jorge will tell you a bit more about. But today you are sitting in, if you are experiencing Zoom fatigue and have been in so many meetings already, this is the Reframing Resilience series, where we've been looking at how, particularly in Georgia, we're going to recover after this the disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly taking a forward-looking glance at many different industries and sectors, and how they've been affected, and how we're coming through this with new ideas and new connections, particularly on the international front. So I'm going to hand it over now to Jorge and just have him tell us a little bit more about Pendleton, and maybe Guy will give us some ground rules about the discussion, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Trevor. It's great to see some familiar faces, although I haven't seen many of those. But it's so that's the beauty about this thing during Zoom. But like you were telling Anne, we're looking forward to the in-person communication pretty soon. But for those of you that might not know me, I'm Jorge. I'm with the Pendleton Consulting Group. So on behalf of our group, we want to really thank you for spending part of the morning with us and having a great conversation about today's resiliency, economic resiliency for our state, in a topic that is very opportune, that of renewable and anything related to those type of issues, but also highlighting the importance to economic development, to job creating for the state, for the region, but also the global connections that this type of industry kind of brings for Georgia. For those of you that might not be familiar with the Pendleton Consulting Group, we're a group of professionals all in the economic development field. And what we do is we work very closely with communities, organizations, and companies to develop and deploy both business and economic development strategies and connectivity, so our region and our companies prosper. So the easiest way is to refer you to our website. It has a lot of information there about our team and who we are and what we do at pendletonatlanta.com. So Guy, let me turn it over to you and talk a little bit about how we're going to run this on purpose, sure. Keeping small conversation.
Sure. Keep it very short. A little bit about the rules of the game. Trevor is our moderator, and he has the authority to direct questions to our featured speaker or to anyone else that he wants to. However, if you have something to say or a question to ask, and I'm definitely saying both things, it's not just about asking questions, but also if you have a statement to make or an ID to bring out, then please raise your hand, and either Trevor or I will see that. Like, raise your hand physically, not all these buttons that are down there. Also, at the end of the conversation, if you hear someone who's an interesting person you would like to have a conversation with or continue the discussion with, this is the other value that we're trying to do here, kind of have the networking part of it. And if you say, well, I would like to speak to Mr. Fernandez, then we will make that introduction offline, and just reach out to me. You all received emails from me, and I will facilitate that. And to you, Trevor.
Hey,
Sounds
Guy,
good.
you want to talk just quickly about the tidbits that we will be sending out?
Yeah.
and
At
people
the
can
end of
use
the
it?
conversation, we will send a recording of this thing, and also recording of all the previous 10 conversations that that we had. And if by chance any one of you says something that they do not want to be on the Global Atlanta website, and let us know as soon as the conversation ends, and we'll edit it out. There's also on the link that you will receive or have received already, there are snippets of this and previous conversations that will be available to for you to view, use, etc. And now
Great.
to you, Trevor.
Yeah, do y'all want to do introductions this time or just jump straight into the conversation? We've got a small enough group, it might be workable.
Why don't you?
Okay, sounds good. We're going to use the one breath rule again. This is, you know, I'm going to ask our featured speakers to kind of introduce themselves in more depth. But before that, I'm going to ask people on the call if you'll just tell us like who you are, whom you're representing, and kind of keep it to that, and then we'll go through it. Again, the idea is to try to get us engaged talking and not make it one-sided. So is it Gayatri?
Yeah, I'm Gayatri Srinivasan. I'm the head of corporate relations at Emory University.
Thanks, Gayatri. I see Mia.
Good morning. I'm Mia Presley. I manage corporate and community engagement for Atlanta Regional Commission.
Lee.
Good morning. I work with Ann Kaiser's team at Georgia Power.
Cool. Consul General Staunton.
Hi, Andrew Staunton, British government's representative in the Southeast. We do climate, we do energy, we do clean growth, and excited to be part of this discussion. Thanks.
Awesome. Debbie? I got you muted. Sorry. You'll have to unmute.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
I'm Debbie O'Hara, and I'm with Barber Wind Turbines, and we are a new wind turbine developed especially for distributed generation.
Interesting. Bern?
Hi, I'm Bern Grush. I'm with Harmonized Mobility in Toronto, Canada, and I am working on the problem of standardizing sidewalk robots for their use in goods movement.
Awesome. Jairo?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Jairo Garcia. I am the former director of climate policies with the City of Atlanta, CEO of Urban Climate Nexus, and I teach classes in sustainable urban development and climate change at the Georgia Institute of Technology and Johns Hopkins University. Thank you.
Amazing. Jen?
Jen Hagler, I'm the redevelopment manager for Decided Cab Development Authority.
There's someone that says Pendleton. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Hey guys, it's Brooke Lucas with the Pendleton
Brooke,
Group.
that's right. Sorry, Brooke.
Good to see you. No.
John?
Hi, I'm John Parkerson. I'm an international business attorney at Hall Booth Smith and the honorary consul of Hungary.
Awesome. Savannah?
Hi, I'm Savannah Boylan. I'm a policy officer at the Canadian Consulate of the Southeast.
Great. Brandon?
Hey, good morning. I'm Brandon Barnes, Director of International Tourism Sales with the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau.
There's someone that says Zoom user. Who's the Zoom user? Who's our mystery person? Do they know? Maybe they're just...
Me, I'm Kimberly Schulman, the Trade Commissioner.
Oh, Kimberly.
Hi, everybody. The Trade Commissioner at the Swiss Business Hub at the Swiss Consulate here in Atlanta.
Great, thank you. Joseph?
Hey, good morning. My name is Joseph. I'm the Japan Office Director for the Georgia Department of Economic Development.
Regina?
Good morning. I'm Regina Maddox, Executive Director of Next Generation Manufacturing.
Great. Marie, are you lurking or are you going to speak?
I'm sorry, I'm here.
That's okay.
Communications Director for the Georgia Department of Economic Development, and great to be here with you today. Looking forward to everyone's comments and learning more.
Awesome. I'm sure you got a lot going on, so no worries. IP Gallery. He might be Another comment. Oh, come. Avi, you're on.
Hi, I'm Avi Degani. I'm with IP Gallery, and I am now in Tel Aviv.
Nice. Dawn. You there, Dawn?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I can follow instructions, but I have a eye issue this morning, so I will save y'all that picture this morning. Dawn Townsend with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, Director of the International Trade Division, and worked previously in the energy and environmental sector. So very interested in this discussion.
Right. And, you know, when I'm calling on y'all, no need to necessarily get on. If you're off for a reason, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure you feel included. Sergio, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Sergio, Managing Director of Georgia's Europe office in Munich, Germany. Thank you.
Great. Cynthia? Cynthia there? Okay. Go to another chamber representative, Michael Tyson-Jones. Are you there, Michael?
I am here. Hey, I'm Michael, the Director for Global Business Development at the Metro Atlanta Chamber.
Awesome. We've got Stella Hsu as well. Stella?
Think is not right.
That's okay.
Let me just.
No worries. Just you can just introduce yourself and you can
Hi, I'm
work
Stella.
on it.
I'm the Managing Director for China Initiative at Georgia Department of Economic Development.
Awesome. Virginia?
Hi, Virginia. I'm a project manager at the Georgia Department of Economic Development, and I support a lot energy and electric mobility related projects here.
Awesome. Daniel? Got you, Daniel, or no? Okay. If not, we'll go to Parker, Toronto, which I'm assuming is Abby.
Hi, everybody. Yep, I am Abby Toronto. Can't change my name until I log in, but that's still a relic of my 7-year-old and her Zoom school. I'm Deputy Commissioner over Marketing, Communications, and International Engagement at GDEC, and I see a lot of familiar faces.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. I think we got through that in like 5 minutes. That was pretty good. Y'all think get the prize for the most succinct introductions of any group we have had on this series, and this is the 12th one, so we're finally getting it right. Well, let me ask our featured speakers to jump in. I'm going to ask you just to tell us, you get a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 breaths, tell us a little bit more about what y'all got going. We'll start with Ann Kaiser, who's the VP of Community and Economic Development at Georgia Power. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about how this conversation intersects with what you do?
Well, I mean, it's what we do day in and day out, and we work very closely with most of the people on this call this morning. And I think as the conversation unfolds, you're going to hear one of the main statements that this is a driving growth engine for us in economic development. And as a state and with the leadership assembled here, the need to be ready for all of it. So I have the pleasure of leading a great team that is all about the health and wealth of the state of Georgia, with my #1 customers represented here, the good commissioner and his team. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Tim Lewin, Executive Director at the Strategic Energy Institute at Georgia Tech. Tim, tell us more about the Institute.
Yeah, so my job is to basically serve as a system integrator for all the energy R&D work done at Georgia Tech, working with many of you on many of the organizations for people on this call. So we have about 1,000 people doing energy R&D. We spin off a number of companies. We're really excited about Sila Nanotech, a Georgia Tech company, which just received a $3.3 billion valuation. So a major clean energy unicorn. And then we also bring in well over $100 million a year in federal clean energy R&D dollars. And so a big part of my job is serving as sort of a key interface with key industry partners, as well as the federal government.
Great. And then we've got Pat Wilson, Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Pat, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Trevor, thanks for the invitation. And thanks to the Pendleton Group for sponsoring. Really, you guys know the Department of Economic Development. It's our job our mission to grow jobs for Georgians. And really where this intersects is that these are the jobs of the future. And so as the commissioner of the department, we're imperative on us to continue to recruit the jobs that are going to be with Georgians for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And so that's exactly what jobs in renewable energy do. But also it's a separator for us. Georgia has a very unique opportunity because of the growth in renewable energy in our mix, thanks to our utility partners. It's given us an opportunity to recruit companies that are climate conscious and looking toward the future. And so that's been an exciting part of all of this for us too. So we're happy to share the story today.
Perfect. And then we've got James Marlow, who's the CEO and founder of Clean Energy Advisors, but also was the CEO of Radiant Solar. James, welcome.
Well, good morning. It's great to be with this group. It's a pleasure. There's so much happening in clean energy right now, in solar, energy storage, electric transport, and just innovation and sustainability in general. So it's a very exciting, dynamic space. I applaud the efforts of Pat and his team with SK Innovations, all the work you've done there, Hanwha Q Cells. I mean, as I said a few minutes ago in our internal call, there's about 5,000 solar workers in Georgia today. Those are good jobs. Some of those are great jobs. We've got soon to be 5,000 energy storage workers. That's fantastic. We've got all the ingredients to be a global leader in this. The team at Georgia Tech, people at Emory, people in our technical college network. There's just so much that we can do here. And it's a pleasure to work with GDOT and Georgia Power and the other groups that are participating.
Right. So I think all that is the perfect setup for a conversation, because as we mentioned before we started the conversation, we have kind of two layers going on. Like we've got the energy, clean energy jobs in the specific industry that are being created. And then we've also got what Pat mentioned, there are climate conscious firms that are coming in and want their energy mix to be diverse, if not, exclusively focused on renewables or clean energy. So we've got the competitiveness aspect for general industry, and then we've got the clean energy sector itself. Like James mentioned, there are 5,000 solar jobs, most of which are in installation, not manufacturing, right? And so there's two conversations going on. I really want to focus on both, but at first, in particular, I think we need to set the baseline for Georgia. Georgia is not always seen as the most progressive when it comes to energy, but I think other states kind of get highlighted, but I think there has been a lot done in the sector. So whoever wants to, if you want to jump in and give us a sense for the baseline, how far have we come in the adoption of renewable energies, and what are some of the policies that have led to that? Maybe Tim and James, if y'all want to start with that. Tim and/or James.
Go for it, James.
Well, I think we've made a lot of progress, and I applaud our utility partners at Georgia Power and Green Power. So Georgia is a top 10 state in terms of installed solar. Most of that is in very large scale solar plants. I'm a big advocate of doing more distributed generation. I want to see us do more energy storage projects. I want to see us do more for electric transport. And that's both for fleets like UPS and other large fleets, but also individuals and the charging networks around that. And it needs to be a strong partnership with utilities. I'm very pro-utility. The example that's probably most impactful to mention in this would be Facebook. Facebook and other large companies are relocating to Georgia. They're bringing billions in investment in that data campus. And they have a requirement for clean energy. It's not an option. It's not we would like to have solar energy like it used to be. It's we are going to get solar energy, and they're doing 600 megawatts of solar, which is $600 million, $500 million investment in our state. Those are good things, and we need to foster those. You're going to see it from all the top tech companies and more mainstream companies like Visa and PepsiCo and others that are becoming 100% clean energy companies. So very dynamic opportunity for Georgia, and a lot of good work has been done and is being done.
And I'll just add one piece to that is that, I mean, even as we talk about kind of how customers are demanding it, I mean, you just if you think about the economic development benefit that Georgia provides, it's very low cost power. And just if you look at the cost of clean energy, these cost curves are dropping. And if you look at the cost profile of, say, of a natural gas fired power plant or something else, these things, obviously there's an upfront construction cost, but then there's a significant sort of O&M and fuel cost over the life of the plant. Whereas, if you're looking at solar or wind, you pay up front, and then the relative costs downstream are quite low. And so if we're going to continue to have sort of record beating energy costs, I think clean energy is a key part of that.
What have been the factors that have led to the reduction of cost in solar, particularly? I know that panels have been a big part of it, and we have done a lot to protect the domestic solar industry, but apparently China's subsidization of solar panels has been beneficial for the world in terms of reducing the cost per panel. But is that really the biggest part of the cost equation? Like, where does land fit in? Where does the availability of incentives and particularly the willingness of the utility to buy the power, guarantee buying of the power, come in?
Well, it's really all the above. I mean, the key ingredient is this relentless innovation of our industry, and we're fighting for cost compression. And the most important aspect of that is going to scale. When you really have very large manufacturing, like Hanwha Q-Cells in Dalton, they've got almost 600 employees. They're using state-of-the-art equipment. They're using best practices, and they're saving tiny bits here and there and driving the price down. So that's what it's all about. This innovation in energy storage is going to be transformational for the utility electric industry, not just solar, but it's bringing these technologies together to make the grid more resilient, to provide clean energy, to provide additional jobs and economic development. So it's a lot of win-win-win in my book.
What do you want to say, Tim?
Yeah, if I could just add one more thing. And the other piece, I guess, around this, in addition to the unit that makes energy, there's a whole layer on top of that around the data, aggregating data, analyzing data, monetizing data. And, I think a great exhibit A for the state of Georgia is the GE facility off of Windward Parkway in Marietta. I think that is the largest facility in the world that is pulling in data from industrial facilities. So we oftentimes think about Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, sort of the data capital of the world, probably true for consumer data. But if you think about data from manufacturing plants and power plants, it's centered in greater Atlanta. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for the state to really emerge as sort of the epicenter for what I'll just call industrial data. It's a really big market. And just the knowledge economy and the very high paid jobs and analytics and things like that around deriving value and monetizing data sets from industrial assets.
That's a good point. Tim, do you want to give us a sense for what the energy mix is in Georgia? I mean, we've got this nuclear plant that's coming online at Vogel, and we've got hydropower, we've got coal-fired plants, I think still maybe one or two. And then we got natural gas, of course, and then the growing solar sector. So what's the mix look like?
Yeah, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I mean, natural gas is the biggest contributor. And then, like you said, we have a pretty diverse blend out from there, but I don't remember the exact percentages.
Okay, Ann?
Maybe I can jump in there on
yeah, sure.
points to help out. Because it's really pretty darn interesting, at least to me. In 2007, our energy mix was 70% coal. 2019, it's 22%. So significant shift to the natural gas side of the house, plus the increase in growth in the renewable sector. Trevor, I'm fiercely competitive. That's probably why I'm in the business that I'm in. So when you say we're not known for our energy forward thinking, I might challenge a bit, because we're one of the largest sources of solar that was not required by the regulators. Our company, as well as the other utilities in the state, made significant investments. So it's been really nice to see that growth. not only from growing an industry sector of green jobs, if you will, but also meeting what our customers are asking for. And then the nuclear, depending on which side, which way you view that, is clean energy. And we're the first one to start that in 35 years. So I feel like the state of Georgia and our new investment in distributed generation that we're making. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and I totally wasn't saying empirically that it's not. I'm saying that sometimes those that regulate it, get more attention for sure. So how have y'all managed, your community and economic development, how have you managed, kind of the demands of industry with the demands of community and, and structuring costs in a way that, you maintain affordability while also, empowering the growth of industry? That to me, it seems like the big challenge that every utility faces, right?
Trevor, you must be in our integrated resource planning meeting, because that is a huge challenge. And I'd love for the commissioner to weigh in here, because he's seen it with us. The companies in the last 3 years, the demand and request for renewables is huge. And it's not just renewables. It's 100% renewables, and it's net zero carbon. And that is a huge infrastructure play on all of our parts. So would love other comments on that.
Yeah, and and I want to give our utility partners a lot of credit. You guys have, like we said at the top, this is an industry that really has that we don't regulate. We're not mandating it in Georgia. We don't have a renewable portfolio standard. I give our PSC a lot of credit. Those guys have created really an environment of policy that's allowed a lot of this change. And then, once again, our utility partners are listening to their customers who are requesting this. And Facebook, James made a great example of Facebook. When they came in, they didn't just ask for new renewables. They asked for 100% new renewables. So they wanted, it could not be planned. It could not be in Georgia Power's 5-year plan. It could not be something that is coming. It had to be new to the state. And so, they came back to us and basically said, Georgia is the only state that they were looking at the time that could meet that need. And so we not only did we do it in a fashion to of course get that extra facility, but they're continuing to grow. There are a number of opportunities that you're going to see them continue to grow that footprint, but we're seeing it from Google as well. But then look at our corporate partners. Delta has their zero carbon footprint goal that is going to be tough for them to meet, right? They're going to have to really strive to work with the utility partners in order to find that to reach that goal. And so we're seeing that across a number of industry sectors. It's not just data centers. It's not just tech companies coming out of the West Coast. You're seeing it in headquarters. Of course, when companies, OEMs are looking at projects now, the EV, there's a long argument on EVs of whether that carbon footprint is actually smaller than the gas, the internal combustion engine car that you have in your garage right now. If you look at the entirety of that supply chain, from the rare earth minerals that you're extracting in China and the Congo, to the processing in China, to all the way to the end of that battery, there's a lot of coal in that mix coming out of China and the Congo. And so, is that battery really a low carbon footprint? If you read a lot of studies, it says that, basically drive that car, that internal combustion engine that you have. Yeah, I've got a Toyota 4Runner that is 20 years old. And that truck is a very low carbon footprint because I've amortized that for 20 years.
Yeah.
There are so many. And Georgia Power, I give a lot of credit for and our utility partners, all of them, for investing in those nuclear reactors, because companies that are looking for low carbon footprint, we're going to be able to supply that in Georgia. It's not just renewables, and we've got an amazing story to tell when it comes to solar. James has really helped grow that solar industry from scratch. But last year we were 6th in total solar manufacturing jobs in the country. We had a 30% growth in solar jobs in 2019. I mean, that's really amazing that you're seeing that right here in Georgia. And thanks to Trevor for talking about it, but nobody else is. And so we've got a great narrative and a great story to tell. And I think it comes back to some really forward-thinking policymakers on the PSC in the General Assembly, and then out of our utilities that have made that happen. So I'm excited to be able to reap the benefits of that and go recruit these companies.
Well, Pat and Ann, why was it, I mean, in the case of Facebook, that Georgia was the only one that's able to offer that? I think that's pretty significant to talk about. I mean, is it, and what I found interesting with that and other projects that are supplying data centers and elsewhere is that, you're seeing the, in the case of Hanwha, right? Like the panels being produced in Georgia, they're getting installed in South Georgia, and then the power's being, shipped through the grid back up to data centers in Metro Atlanta. So, what's this mix of flexibility that enabled Georgia to do that, I guess, and why is that unique? And maybe Pat and Ann talk about that.
We have this is getting outside of my area of expertise, and I'd love to bring Facebook in to talk about it, but really what it comes down to is the grid access and then the market structures and the way the utilities cooperate in Georgia. I mean, you guys, it's really unique that all 3 utilities invest in the grid, and it really is when Facebook came back to us, they said that they would be willing to go help us recruit companies and talk about the way that our unique structure in Georgia gives us an ability to meet renewables needs that other states can't.
And maybe add on to that, like, how do you make solar beneficial for the community that's producing the power, right? I mean, it's not a job generating engine up front. It's not like a big new factory coming in, but I've noticed a lot of communities and a lot of counties around Georgia, and of course we're known for having a lot of counties, have put these utility scale installations there, and I think it drives up the tax base. But beyond that, what's the kind of longer term benefit for those communities?
Well, I mean, I think it's twofold. One, they're able to demonstrate that they are open to new technologies and new offerings. So it puts them, ahead of others, in addition to just what you said, the economic investment and the tax base. And, the interesting thing going forward is most of that investment has been in, central to South Georgia. And to meet the demand, we now need to move north. And what does that really look like? And so, and we're planning for a much greater investment in solar, and even looking back at some wind projects. So, but I think for the communities, it's in some ways, it's almost bragging rights too, in addition to construction jobs to build it. So.
Maybe James.
Can I jump in on that? And you were so right. It is. We built solar projects, with Georgia Power in communities that hadn't seen $1 of investment in decades. And there are construction jobs. We put money into the economy in that construction phase. There are not a lot of ongoing jobs. There are operations and maintenance, but we should be very accurate about that. But the real benefit to these rural communities, as someone who cares deeply about rural Georgia, the money going into those schools and the property tax is profound. And these small, poor counties are really benefiting from that in a profound way. So, Ann, you're 100% right.
Well, James, I wanted to ask you too, and Tim, I'll go to you just next. But James, Ann talked about moving north, and obviously the utility scale is one thing, but you talked about distributed, and particularly I'd be interested to hear more from you about industry. How industry is adopting solar as part of their own mix, right? Like maybe for their facilities. Do you see that increasing?
Yes,
particularly as
absolutely.
more subscribe to this idea of, corporate citizenship, including energy stewardship.
Yeah, if you drove to the Hanwha Q Cells facility, you would see in the parking lot a solar canopy. Radiance built that canopy. So that's a very visual testament of innovation and new technology being used at that state-of-the-art facility. At Shaw Carpet, they have solar on the roof of their Plant X facility. So, and really we need a kind of a mix of 80-20. So 80% large scale and community scale solar, and then 20% spread out on rooftops, on parking canopies, like at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Georgia Power's projects there. So those are examples of distributed solar, strengthening the grid, providing more resiliency, and actually getting us under multiple weather patterns. So we don't want to have 96% of our solar under a single weather pattern, as we really do right today. So these are things that our utilities are learning about and doing, and I applaud their expansion of it.
Great. Tim, I don't know if you want to talk about the jobs aspect or the community resilience aspect,
Well, no, I just want to circle back. I wanted to put an exclamation point on something Ann made earlier about kind of what makes Georgia special and unique. And obviously low energy cost is one, but I mean, I think as a marketing point, I think we do clean energy, but without the drama, right? So, I mean, if you look at what just happened in Texas, if you look at what happens in California, if you look at the price spikes of the last polar vortex in the Northeast, that's just not happening, right? And I think so if we go back to the title of this series, this resilience is baked into kind of the thinking, even as we're thinking about these other goals around cost.
Yeah,
I should charge for that. Clean energy without the drama.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a new slogan there. We just minted it right here in the Reframing Resilience series.
Well, and I think that's a testament to utilities that have operational excellence and highly reliable networks. So.
Yeah. So what's the line then, Tim and James, and maybe everybody, between having no drama and actually having policies that are more strident, I guess, and trying to push this thing forward rather than just letting market forces do it. I mean, it seems like in the case of a lot of our European partners in particular, there's a lot of regulation that goes into building out solar and other renewables and mandates and feed-in tariffs and all that. So where is that line? Like, I mean, obviously we need to push it a bit, and particularly on the storage side, it seems like that's the missing piece to all this. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand of renewables is that you have to have storage to account for troughs and production of the energy and to take advantage when it actually is a peak production time. But it's too many questions wrapped into one.
I think the key is innovation, and it's innovation in technology. So new battery chemistries, it's innovation in policy, so that we do look for new price structures, so that if you're a manufacturer in Georgia, that you're rewarded for adding energy storage. And right now you're really penalized for adding energy storage. So, there are, policies and things that we can do to improve, that are not punitive to our utilities. We don't need, punitive policies or mandates or subsidies. What we need is good, free market policies that work well for the end user customers, the new company that would be looking to relocate here, and also our existing utilities and existing companies.
Awesome.
If I just add to that, I think so. I'll put on I've been wearing my Georgia Tech hat, but I'm also a small business owner. I own a company with about 10 employees where we work in sort of analytics and software applied to the energy industry. And we have products around resiliency and reliability. We have products around efficiency and driving down cost. And if you just look at where you can sell these different types of products, I think a key factor is the state of Georgia. Resilience is valued, right? It has a value. And I can work with the Southern company. I can work with Georgia Power, and I can actually make money by helping them be more resilient. So just leveraging the innovation power of Georgia and of our country towards resilience. In many markets, we've seen this in Texas, is that at the end of the day, Mr. Market doesn't own resilience, right? We've seen that, and you can't build a business then. There's a lot of cool things you can do to make our grid more resilient. And there's a lot of neat things you can do on both the software and the hardware side. But at the end of the day, if you can't build a business around that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, Pat, I wanted to bring you back in here, and then I think I'll open it up to the audience.
One second. I've been just kind of monitoring some of the comments on the thing, and I kind of want to, and Jairo is raises some very interesting points there. So at some point, please ask him to kind of elaborate on them. And the other thing, at some point, if we can, we've been talking a lot about industrial contribution to the grid. Is residential at play, or is it just a hobby for some tree huggers to play with?
Well, yeah, I was definitely going to get to Jairo because he's been putting a lot of stuff in there, and y'all can all see in the chat. But I wanted to ask Pat one more thing, and then I wanted to transition sort of to bring everybody in. But Pat, you mentioned the OEMs. I was assuming you're meaning like in the auto sector in particular, because you've had a lot of investment from Germany and Korea and other places. But what can you elaborate a little bit more on what they're demanding when they come in? I mean, is it as strenuous as Facebook was being, or is it more just that we need to know that in the background that y'all have some sort of renewable strategy as a state? Like, where does the energy equation come in?
Yeah, Trevor, it's a little bit of both of that. I mean, an OEM, of course, is and many of the OEMs that you talk to now in the especially in the EV sector, they don't consider themselves automotive companies. They consider themselves energy companies. Tesla says that right on the, they're right out in front. They consider themselves an energy company. But the interesting thing about that is most of them are focused on low carbon footprint. They're still manufacturing. You have to have low cost of energy, and you have to have reliability of that energy. And so when you look at low carbon footprint or no carbon footprint, nuclear energy is usually figured into that. And so it's not necessarily just renewable. And so that's one of the things that you hear, especially from major manufacturers. They're focused more on the no carbon footprint. If you get into our European companies, a lot of times it's more focused on renewables themselves and not necessarily the carbon footprint, because many of them have, especially our German companies, have moved away from nuclear already. But there are mandates, and this is going to be interesting to see how other states move to move the needle for renewables. Let's look at Mercedes-Benz or BMW or some of the major manufacturers that are located in Alabama and Tennessee and South Carolina. Those companies have system-wide goals for low carbonization to no carbonization. And so it's going to drive, when you have a plant in Vance, Alabama that employs 5,000 people, that's a big deal to be able to meet the needs of that facility and the parent company as they strive for no carbon footprint. And so you're going to have to see, and some of our competitor states are slow adopters. You're going to have to see them move very quickly in order to meet these long-term goals. One of the things that I think positions Georgia very well for expansion of the e-mobility sector is that we're already there. We can already meet the needs of these companies as they're looking for that long-term curve to lower their corporate, or really focused on corporate climate awareness. So, Georgia is going to be well positioned into the future for that.
Jairo, time to bring you in. You've had a lot of comments, and I want to remind everybody, comments are welcome, right? And if you want to bring them into the chat, or you want to wave at us and make sure we see you. Jairo, I guess I wanted to ask you about EVs, right? You had some things to say about that, and I'm particularly interested in what the intersection is between EVs and solar, like EVs as a storage play potentially. But I want to hear what you have to say.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to talk. I'm very excited because this about renewables, about clean energy, is just opportunities that we have here in Georgia. We had the capacity, I teach classes at Georgia Tech. We had the capacity, we had so much talent here, and we had so much human value that we can leverage and move forward to the new world that we see. Probably you have seen last week President Biden climate summit. You see every single nation is moving in that direction. And the thing is that if we want to be competitive, if we want to be not only economically, but also technologically, we have to get in the boat. And we cannot get in the boat if we make long-term plans for fossil fuels. We have to move very, very quickly to clean technology. And the thing is that we don't produce coal in Georgia. We don't produce gas in Georgia. We are burning that billions of dollars that we burn every year in producing electricity, where we can produce our own electricity, export that technology, create jobs, like James was mentioning. The opportunities are immense. I'm glad I was just chatting a few seconds ago with the consulate of Germany. They are our partners. I've been working with them. Germany right now is moving very quickly in green hydrogen energy that we should be looking at. And you pay attention last week, even Putin was talking about hydrogen. Where we are right now, we have to move faster in that direction. And we can just not just keep moving about like, oh, this coal plant is gonna last 50 years. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. We have to move faster. We have just the windows very close, but we are very competitive. We have to be competitive and leverage all our potential. We have to move faster to EVs. We have to move faster to our renewables. While we don't have a hydrogen train from here to Savannah, imagine the amount of economic development that we can create in the most busiest port, which is beautiful to visit, to Atlanta, which is the most busiest airports in the world. So we have the potentials are enormous. I'm very excited to be a part of these conversations, and we can move very quickly in that direction.
Awesome. I think you bring up two great points. One that I'll throw out for future discussion, but forestry. I mean, where does this fit in? I mean, this is the one feedstock, right, that we have in abundance here besides sun. And also, I think Tim at one point wanted to address how we ensure that these jobs that are being created in the renewable sector and the energy sector are actually, good enough jobs to replace the ones that are being lost. But first, I wanted to bring in Andrew Staunton, the Consul General of the UK. He had something he wanted to ask or say. Andrew?
Hi, a couple of observations. First of all, this conversation is music to my ears. I mean, the energy in this room, if you pardon the pun, is rather electric. And it's probably the first such gathering that I've had outside of just the private sector in my time across the Southeast. I quite like the phrase, and I can't remember who said it, that we have clean energy in Georgia without the drama. And listening to Commissioner Wilson, I can fully understand that the focus or the lens with which everybody's looking at this is really through that economic lens of jobs, competitiveness and growth. I mean, obviously the United Kingdom is, we think we're in the front of that train. We think we're doing a lot of what's being done here in terms of our green revolution, in terms of our leadership on the COP26. We very much welcome, the outcome of the climate summit last week. Really, really ready to work. But just a slight observation, and it's not meant to be a criticism, but the clean energy without the drama can also be the clean energy without the international promotion or the global awareness. And I think that's one of the things. I know clean energy versus fossil fuel can be highly politically sensitive here, but just a question, how good is the state of Georgia at marketing this internationally, both as an economic development opportunity, but actually showing that the state of Georgia is leading the way, meeting consumer demand, building that economy of the future, and making the transition to that net zero carbon economy that the world seems to be driving towards. So I think super fantastic, all that positive stuff. I think the utilities here have been fundamentally at the center of it. It's great to hear that Pat is now able to use that progressive work that the utilities are doing through the nuclear, through the renewables to really make the demands of Facebook. So probably those big companies understand it, but there's a lot of clean tech arising in my country, in the Netherlands, in Canada, that would really like to come here and engage with you, maybe not to the scale of the Facebook or the SKK innovation, but how do you get that message out there that, unlike what people would look at if they looked at a map of the United States based on EV consumption, based on manufacturing, that the Georgia is really at the front and center of this transformative agenda.
Yeah, who wants to go for that? Pat?
Andrew, I'll jump in real quick, and I know that the rest of the panel probably has some things that they'd like to add to it as well. But we are I would say that we're really just starting to draft that narrative, right? I mean, Georgia has been moving in the right direction for a long time. I don't think that we've done a good job of grabbing that and creating a narrative to go recruit these companies. But I also think that you've seen really a dramatic shift in 5 years of companies that put this at a different level in their decision-making factors. If you look back 5 years ago, it's cost of doing business, your energy cost, and your site. I mean, your workforce. I mean, all those things. That renewable energy mix was not mentioned at all, and so that's something that we've seen grow over and over. It's through the recruitment process of companies, and it's something that we as a department have fairly recently just started to focus on in creating that narrative. I mean, honestly, when we started down this path of helping Hanwha Q cells, get started in Dalton, and we really started to drill down on what this story looked like in Georgia, I was shocked that we had such a great narrative to be able to go and continue to recruit these companies. And you talk about clean tech, the research that's going on at Georgia Tech in that space is pretty fantastic. And I would love to talk to you if there are opportunities that you see from clean tech companies in the UK that are either looking to partner with a research going on here or come to Georgia. We would love to have that discussion. Not every company is going to be 2,600 jobs like SK, but a lot of these companies in this space are going to be fast growers. So if you bring that 50 jobs into Georgia, that 50 jobs could be 250 in 2 years. So we'd love to have that discussion.
Well, I remember to Andrew's point, a few years ago, there was the Virgin Atlantic took the first transatlantic flight that was powered by jet fuel made from trees, right? From cellulosic fuels. And that was, they had the celebration in South Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that's gone on that just hasn't been publicized. So I think that's a good point. And I wanted to bring Gayatri in. I think you've had some observations as well. And you've also invited everybody to an upcoming summit on sustainability and climate change. Did you want to ask the questions?
Thank you. Actually, mine was more as a curiosity person. I keep hearing about solar panels. And so I'm talking from a consumer, from a residential standpoint, how people are saying that, hail or, snow or ice can damage this solar panel. So I have no idea how we are thinking about innovative ways to create these panels. And I don't know whether that is applicable in the industrial setting, or is it only applicable, those concerns, in the residential setting. But beyond that, of course, I would like to invite you to an event on climate and sustainability that we are hosting on May 4th. So I've put the registration link. So whoever can attend, please feel free to use the link. I would love for you to participate.
Great. Well, anybody want to talk about the resiliency of solar panels and the weather? I mean, that probably is one advantage we have in Georgia.
Before that, since we have Gayatri, can you tell us, because you shared with me the center or the think tank or whatever Emory is doing on that, and I'm pretty sure that many people are not aware of it.
Sure.
So 2-3 words about that.
Sure. So we have at Emory something that's called the Resilience and Sustainability Collaboratory. And this was designed to be not a think tank, but a think and do tank. So it's a coalition amongst many corporate partners as well as organizational partners to come together to think about solutions, look at problems and come up with solutions, right? So one of the leaders who runs the program is going to be presenting in this event that I just shared. But the idea is to build a healthy, sustainable, and more resilient environment and community that can solve for the future. So they come up with questions and they solve for those questions. So if you want to learn more, I would, instead of me talking about it based on some fact sheet that I'm reading from, I would urge you to attend this event because the leader is actually presenting, and she's supposed to be a dynamo in this field.
Awesome. Well, maybe James, do you want to satisfy Gayatri's curiosity about solar panels and how we keep them protected?
I would be happy to. I mean, solar panels are designed and engineered to withstand hail and snow, and they're engineered for the specific site location. Solar is working on millions of installations all across the world, 1 million in California alone, 1 million in the United States, 1 million in Australia, 1 million in Europe. So, you know, wherever it's properly engineered, properly installed, it's going to work effectively, typically for, 20 plus, sometimes 25, 30 years. The solar panels come with a 25-year warranty. So very few products have that type of longevity. So very reliable product that does work well. There are a lot of myths in this area, and these myths are propagated by people that want to delay the transition to clean energy. And you'll often hear people say, well, you can't recycle solar panels. Well, of course you can. 94% of a solar panel is recyclable, very, very high content.
This is so good to hear.
Birds, and this is disinformation that is propagated by paid professionals to slow the adoption of clean energy. And we just need to deal with facts. We need to get the correct information out. We should not oversell the benefits of clean energy or electric vehicles. We need to be clinically factual. Just like Tim was saying, I agree with Tim.
Can I just lob one more thing? We haven't used the word cybersecurity on this call yet, but cybersecurity is a huge economic development potential for this state. And if you think about an increasingly distributed energy system, cybersecurity issues can make or break sort of this distributed clean energy system. And it's a big opportunity. We have Fort Gordon, Georgia Tech is rolling out a new college, a dedicated college. Our DTRI does over $100 million a year in R&D. But I mean, just further building out the cyber ecosystem is a big opportunity more broadly, but also to enable a global clean energy economy.
Well, yeah.
There's no reason we can't center it here.
That's another reason another, I guess, plus for distributed energy production, right? Because if one point of failure goes down, you still have other.
Well, you have more. My point is you have more points of entry, which is why
that is true. That is true. Yeah, good point. Yeah. I wanted to bring in, Sergio mentioned that Georgia is sponsoring Intersolar in Munich this year. So anyway, I wanted to bring in, we've got like 4 or 5 minutes left. Anybody that from any of the other economic development agencies or Regina, in your case, manufacturing organizations or consular representatives, y'all want to jump in and say anything about what you've got going on? I just wanted to make sure that we open the floor for that while we've still got a few minutes. Anybody want to jump in? Ask any questions? Offer anything? Okay, good. Well, I'll point at you, Regina. I know you go to a lot of factories. So and you've got your signature event coming up this fall again, hopefully in person. We're crossing our fingers. Yeah. So what are you hearing from manufacturers when it comes to their energy production? I mean, they're sometimes the biggest, often the biggest users of energy in their communities, right? So I'm sure they're thinking about this a lot.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Trevor. And thank you for that plug for our annual event. Appreciate that. But yes, you're absolutely right. And you've heard this with me several times as well. Energy is often the biggest, one of the largest expenses, if not the largest expense for manufacturers. And I do know, and this is something not just because you all are on the call, but economic development is always mentioned as being a great partner in helping with the energy. Companies that are expanding, companies that are relocating here, they always mention that being a fantastic partner. And Georgia Power, of course, for those companies. And the fact that is appreciated by all manufacturers, because if you don't know this, and if you don't, I'm happy to share with you that for every dollar spent in manufacturing, $2.79, it's the latest data per NAM as of 2 days ago, is the multiplier. That's the highest multiplier of any economic segment that there is. So any support that can be given to that, taxes, that's the only. And I heard someone else say that the tax, someone used the phrase punitive, punitive cost.
Tax structures.
That is a negative. That's a downside. So any support that can be given to that is huge, and that's the only really that we hear, but that is planning with expansions and with relocations, especially. And there are a lot of those going on. And someone else mentioned the smaller, I hate to keep using the word expansions, but those smaller jobs and roles and things that are happening add up. And a lot of those, they don't have huge ones. I know we keep mentioning SK. That's awesome. There's lots of little things happening that are adding up to making huge differences in this. So I just appreciate, I've learned so much on this call. So I appreciate you letting me join. I learned a lot. Thank you for sharing all of this information.
While we got 1 minute left, I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to ask anything, but I wanted to ask, Anne wanted to respond to that, I think.
I just wanted to acknowledge the strength of this conversation and the point that Pat made about the changing narrative and how quickly it has changed, and the understanding that all of us see the huge opportunity in Georgia on the forefront. And I would offer or suggest perhaps that the next time you convene this group, that we really listen to our international partners. The UK, Germany, they're doing some things that really, if we could hear in detail from them, it would help us strengthen our narrative and help us even be far more competitive. So
well,
just
some good marching orders for the next one. On that front, I wanted to actually ask Joseph Hunteman. I don't know if Joseph, if you want to talk about what Japanese companies are looking for in the energy space, because they make 50-year plans, right? And they've been thinking through. A lot of them are really focused on the UN Sustainable Development Goals and things like that. So, how does that fit into their investment plans?
That's absolutely correct, Trevor. And as you say, the Japanese look very long term. They move very cautiously. And so what we see when we're dealing with Japanese companies who are thinking about an expansion overseas is really the number one focus is on security and stability. But that's not security and stability in the sense that we have stockpiles of coal and plants that can keep going 50 years. It's that they see in Georgia an approach really exactly like what the state has taken and what Georgia Power has taken to diversify and to be bringing up and constantly thoroughly testing these new clean energy technologies while at the same time rolling them out and getting them online, but not causing any ripples or any major disruptions in the process. They appreciate that. They appreciate the ability to bring in these innovations while keeping costs realistic, while exploring other options. They're probably at the forefront of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles even now. And that's not because battery electrics don't have their place, but it's just that they're looking that much further ahead. So the measured and balanced approach that we've taken here in Georgia really shows quite well with the Japanese.
Very good, very good. And we just marked the 10th year after the earthquake and tsunami that took out the nuclear plant, right? And then not only that, but led to the shutdown of, I think it was 50 plus nuclear plants around Japan, and they have not brought them back online. So that shows you how concerned they are with safety and stability of these systems. But anyway, that's a good place to end, I think. Jorge, I don't know, Guy, do y'all have any comments to wrap it up?
Again, the conversation was fascinating. As I mentioned earlier, if you identified someone you want to make future connections with, then let me know and I'll make that introduction. And I think we'll follow Anne's lead here and see what the follow-up conversation should look like.
Yeah,
that's it for me.
And we've got some votes of confidence down in the comments and chat as well. People, Savannah and others are saying that they'd be glad to contribute to that, and I figure Andrew will be as well. So thank y'all for offering that, and that excites me as someone who's covering the international side of this stuff. So count me in. Jorge?
Yeah, I just want to say, on behalf of the Pendleton Group, I really want to thank everybody for such a robust conversation that Pat, hopefully this helps you kind of get that framework, if you will, that you started on that narrative. So important to have that narrative as we carry that through. You're right on the right path, and see how we can take our traditional economic development narrative and bring in all these issues that are concerns to communities and that are concerns to corporation. Tim, I am so glad you brought the cybersecurity. I was jumping to make that comments because it seems to be my pet peeve in everything that I talked about. How do we change the mindset on corporation or organizations? Anything we do, because cybersecurity kind of transcends every single thing that we do, particularly in the digitized economy. And Joseph, one last comment. We're just talking, we have a very good conversation with the Consul General in Japan. So we just want to echo everything that you mentioned and what are some of those concerns that Japanese companies have. Craig and I have talked to both JETRO and the Japanese consulate. I just want to echo what you said on those insights.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, thank you everybody, and we'll take up your challenge in terms of our international community, because that's what we're all about, right? It's all part of that Georgia narrative that we keep talking. So anyhow, thank you everybody again, and we look forward to seeing you. And we will put some tidbit and highlights of this conversation that will be easily digestible through social media, no longer than 2 or 3 minutes, that can be really sent out beyond the regular recording of the entire conversation, which you can't tweet out or social media it out. So Trevor, and you did a great job. Thank you. We really
thank you. All right, y'all. See ya. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.